If you have ever walked away from someone and felt smaller, confused, and weirdly guilty, even when you did nothing wrong, you have already met emotional manipulation. It does not always look like cruelty. Sometimes it looks like care. Sometimes it feels like love. And that is why it works. I want you to notice the sensation. Your chest tightens. Your mind starts replaying the last 10 minutes like security footage. You search for the moment you messed up. Your stomach drops because you can feel their mood, and you think it is your job to fix it. That is not you being weak. That is your nervous system doing what it was trained to do, to keep connection, to avoid danger, to restore peace. Emotional manipulation hijacks that system. It turns your empathy into a leash. Manipulation is not just someone lying. It is someone shaping your emotions so you will behave in a way that serves them. The tool is not logic. The tool is your need for belonging, your fear of rejection, your hope that if you explain it better, they will finally understand. The trap is that you keep trying to solve an emotional problem with more effort, more patience, more self-doubt. One of the most common tactics is intermittent reinforcement. That is a psychology term that means rewards come randomly, not consistently, like a slot machine. Sometimes you get warmth, attention, affection. Sometimes you get coldness, silence, irritation. Your brain learns to chase the good moments because they feel like proof that the relationship is real. The inconsistency makes you focus harder. You become hyper-attentive. You start performing. You start editing yourself. Not because you are irrational, but because your brain is built to learn from patterns, and random rewards create the strongest habits. You can feel this in your body. When things are good, you breathe again. When things are bad, you scan for clues. You reread messages. You count the hours since the last reply. You tell yourself you are being dramatic, then you try again. This is operant conditioning, which means your behavior is shaped by consequences. Warmth becomes the reward. Withdrawal becomes the punishment. And soon you are not asking what you want. You are asking what will keep the peace. Another tactic is guilt induction. It is the slow art of making you feel responsible for their feelings. The message is simple. If I am upset, you caused it. If I am disappointed, you failed. If I am cold, you did not earn warmth. Guilt can be healthy when it points to a real value, like I hurt someone and I want to repair. But manipulated guilt is different. It is vague. It is heavy. It does not point to a clear action. It points to your identity. You are selfish. You are ungrateful. You are too sensitive. You are hard to love. When guilt targets identity, it creates a special kind of panic. You stop defending your needs because you do not want to be the kind of person they accuse you of being. That is how good people get controlled. Not by greed, but by conscience. Then there is gaslighting, a word that gets thrown around, but it has a specific psychology shape. Gaslighting is when someone tries to make you doubt your perception of reality, not just disagreeing with you, but eroding your confidence in your own memory, your own interpretation, your own emotional signal. You remember what happened. They insist it did not. You felt the sting. They tell you it was a joke. You bring up a pattern. They act shocked that you would even think that. Over time, you start checking your own mind like it is untrustworthy. The reason this works is not because you are naive. It works because humans are social creatures. We calibrate reality together. When someone you care about denies your experience, your brain feels a threat. It is called cognitive dissonance, which means mental discomfort when two things conflict, like I trust this person and this person says my reality is wrong. Your mind wants relief, so it often chooses the path that preserves attachment. It doubts you. There is also the weaponization of vulnerability. You share something tender, like a fear, a past mistake, a soft spot. Later it comes back in a sharp form, not always as an insult, sometimes as a subtle reminder, a look, a reference, a tiny twist of the knife that says, I know where you bleed. This creates anticipatory anxiety. That means you start feeling stress before anything even happens. You become careful. You become quiet. You become manageable. A manipulator often plays with attention like it is oxygen. They give it, then remove it, then watch you reach. Attention is a currency in the brain. It signals status and safety. When someone controls your access to attention, they can control your behavior. You start doing little things to earn their focus. You laugh at what is not funny. You agree faster. You stop bringing up topics that lead to distance. You become a version of yourself that fits inside their comfort. And here's the part that is hard to admit. Emotional manipulation sometimes works because it offers a role you already learned. If you grew up in an environment where love was conditional, you may have developed an anxious attachment style. That means your system is tuned to chase closeness and fear abandonment. You are not broken. You are adapted. You learn that connection requires vigilance. You learn to read micro shifts in tone. You learn to apologize quickly. You learn to earn calm. Manipulators love that skill set. They do not have to teach you to overfunction. You arrive pre-trained. Another pattern is the shifting rule. The goalposts move. Yesterday, what you did was perfect. Today, it is not enough. You clean the kitchen, but the tone is still cold because you did not do it the right way. You show up on time, but now you are accused of not being present. You make a plan, but now you are controlling. This creates learned helplessness, which means you stop trying because nothing you do changes the outcome. And once you stop trying, you accept smaller and smaller conditions. You call it compromise, but it feels like erosion. A quiet tactic is the false emergency. Everything is urgent. Everything must be handled now. Your need to think is framed as avoidance. Your request for space is framed as punishment. Your boundaries are framed as betrayal. This keeps you in a reactive state, and reactive people are easy to steer. When your nervous system is flooded, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that plans and evaluates, goes offline. You become present tense. You focus on stopping the discomfort. You will say yes just to end the pressure. I want to slow down here and make it practical. The first defense is not a perfect boundary speech. The first defense is noticing the internal weather. Emotional manipulation often has a signature feeling. It is a mix of urgency and confusion. You feel pushed to decide. You feel pulled to explain. You feel like the floor is slightly tilted and you are trying to stand straight. When you notice that, you can name it. Affect labeling is a simple skill where you put words to emotion. Like I feel pressured, I feel guilty, I feel foggy. Naming it reduces its intensity. It brings your thinking back online. The second defense is to watch what happens when you pause. A healthy person can tolerate a pause. A manipulative dynamic cannot. When you slow down, the pressure often increases, not always loudly, sometimes as disappointment, sometimes as silence, sometimes as a sudden sad story that makes you feel cruel for taking time. This is data, not proof, not a verdict, but data. You also want to separate two things that get blended: empathy and responsibility. Empathy is I can feel that you are upset. Responsibility is I caused harm and I will repair. Manipulation tries to fuse them so that if you feel their emotion, you must fix it. But you can hold empathy without handing over your steering wheel. You can care without complying. Notice the stories you tell yourself in the moment. I should not make them mad. I should not be difficult. I should not need so much. Those are cognitive distortions, which means biased thinking patterns that feel true under stress. One common distortion is personalization, meaning you assume you caused what you did not cause. Another is mind reading, meaning you assume you know what they think and you act to prevent a reaction. Under manipulation, these distortions become habits. There is a persuasion principle at work too. Commitment and consistency. Once you have invested, you want to stay consistent with the identity of someone loyal, patient, understanding. Manipulators pull on that. They frame your boundaries as inconsistency. They make you feel like changing your mind is a moral failure. But changing your mind is often growth. Consistency is not always integrity. Sometimes it is fear. Pay attention to how your body behaves after contact. Do you feel clearer, steadier, more like yourself? Or do you feel scrambled, ashamed, and eager to earn relief? Your body keeps a clean ledger. It does not care about excuses, it records outcomes. Sometimes you will be tempted to prove the manipulation, to gather evidence, to build a case so strong that they finally admit it. I understand that urge. It is the part of you that wants reality to be shared again. But many manipulators do not play the same game. They do not seek truth, they seek advantage. If you bring facts, they bring emotion. If you bring emotion, they bring logic. If you bring logic, they bring character attacks. The point is not resolution. The point is control of the frame, control of what the conversation is about. So the shift is subtle. You stop trying to win the argument and you start protecting your attention. Attention is your life. Where it goes, your days go. If someone repeatedly turns your attention into a courtroom, you will live in defense mode. And defense mode shrinks your world. A grounded response is often boring. It sounds like, I need time to think. It sounds like, I am not available for this tone. It sounds like I hear you, and my answer is still no. The power is not in the words, it is in the nervous system behind the words. If you say no while secretly begging for approval, the leash stays on. If you say no while accepting the discomfort, you start to feel your own spine again. And yes, there is loss in that.